Krishna is attractive, and anyone who carries the pure love of Krishna in his heart, that person becomes attractive. So in that way, Srila Prabhupada glorified Krishna. So it is very nice and wonderful to hear about a pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, that how he was able, because what happens when we hear about the devotees, so we get the conviction that yes, someone called Krishna exists. Yes, his teachings are working, because it's not possible that one old man, he's preaching all over the world at the age when people go to retirement, and that age he's actually preaching all over the world. So that gives faith, that gives a conviction. And one of the very, I would like Kripamaya Gauranga Prabhu to take that pastime, that how it was, he took a risk on his life and he went to Russia, and there he preached some stranger, some person, some boy, small, like 25 years old or a very young boy, for just 3 days. He preached that one Russian fellow, through the help of mediator, because Srila Prabhupada did not know Russian, the Russian boy did not know English. So through one mediator, Srila Prabhupada preached one boy just for 3 days, and then he never went to Russia. And that one boy, all over Russia, he bring a huge revolution. And now, if you see in Russia, just see YouTube, there are a lot of devotees, the thousands of devotees that are wonderfully practicing Krishna consciousness against all the odds imposed by the government there. So I think Prabhu is there. Kripamaya Gauranga Prabhu, we would like to hear more from you. Yeah.
Sure, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you for the setting up the background, the context for the class. I mean, I was liking this. You're actually explaining about Prabhupada's body accomplished. Actually, there are a lot of mails which actually talks about how Prabhupada every 11 years did something which is very eventful, all through his lifestyle, life here in the material world. Nice to actually hear all these things, and then it gives us. And
if possible, please take this pastime of Russia. I like it very much.
Okay, bro. Okay, I'll try to cover that.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a nice pastime. I'll actually talk about that. Let me actually write down. It's a very simple pastime that Prabhupada was able to analyze. 2 times he did. First time actually he got this Russian devotee. Second time Shyam Sundar Prabhu got the person, but Prabhupada said he's not actually he's not a devotee. He's actually a Russian agent. So be careful. So it's very interesting that Prabhupada was able to see all this thing that normal people are not able to see. We'll try to cover that. There's so many pastimes and very instructive that sometimes we don't know how to actually deal with such situations. I'm just writing down. Okay, thank you so much, bro. I mean, I'll take about 30 to 40 minutes to share some of those things that we left yesterday. I mean, it can go on for every day. In fact, Prabhupada's Leela are so much that there is no limit to what all he does, and every activity he does becomes a pastime. In fact, one devotee in Boston was telling me today, wherever Prabhupada went, they're actually installing an inscription there saying that Prabhupada visited here. It becomes a place of pilgrimage, right? Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani. Such a person he is, that he carries the entire Vrindavan along with him wherever he goes, and if anybody comes in association with such a place, not even a person, such a place, they become purified to follow Krishna consciousness. Let's take blessings from the Acharyas before we start. Okay. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmitame Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Datati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadagamam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarabhascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvasesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you for hosting me for another day and bearing with me, Prabhu's Matajis. With the blessings of all the devotees here, I would like to share something today. We did actually speak about some aspect of Prabhupada's qualities and how he used to train devotees, because Prabhupada specifically wanted to actually have the morning walks. We will be wondering morning time is mainly for chanting Hare Krishna, which is true. But Prabhupada used to take devotees on morning walks and chant. And while chanting, he used to actually show people how do you actually see the world from the eyes of the Shastras. It's not an easy thing to understand just by chanting Hare Krishna to understand everything, because Prabhupada had very little time and he had so much of information to give everyone. So he used to take devotees on morning walk. Of course, for his health also he wanted to walk, and he always said early morning walk, especially when the sun is actually rising up, is very good for health. And when the sun is setting down, one should not actually expose oneself to the sun. That's not actually good at all for the health. So Prabhupada used to give these kind of information, very informative. I'll share some of this informative things that I learned. I had no clue about these things, even from a material standpoint. So I'll try to cover something about shampoo. Prabhu actually did touch about cleanliness, which is very important. Prabhupada was was brutally clean, and Prabhupada never used to actually compromise on the cleanliness aspect at all. He always kept on saying, if you don't have cleanliness, how will you get godliness? No matter what it is, especially even the chanting bag, if you don't wash it, or anything for that matter, your sari or your dhoti, you don't wash and you just keep it for months together, you become very angry. That was his mentality. I'll try to cover upon some of those cleanliness aspects. Today being a very auspicious day because of Srila Prabhupada's disappearance, I'll try to speak about some portion. It's very painful to actually see the Srila Prabhupada's leaving. I'll try to cover whatever little I can at that point of time. And we'll talk about humor, because Prabhupada is highly humorous. You'll be wondering, such a hard person when it comes to following principles, how can such a person be so humorous? But Prabhupada actually gave a lot of humorous stories and comparisons, and we'll try to cover that. And I want to touch upon the loyalty to Guru, which is very important. Prabhupada demanded extraordinary loyalty. He would not compromise even a small bit of deviation when it comes to loyalty for the parampara. Then a few Vrindavan pastimes which are out of the world, like Prabhupada talking to a monkey and things like that. We'll try to cover how much of our time is there. We'll try to cover that. With that, on the cleanliness aspect, Prabhupada always said, he told the devotees, because some devotees started offering apple cider and whatever available outside, not prepared by the devotees, and they used to offer it to the deities and then take it as prasadam. And Prabhupada said, this is not the standard way to do it. If it's preaching related, if you are going to do some preaching program, emergency is fine. But Prabhupada would never agree to take anything from the factories, because Prabhupada said, do you think these are brahmanas who are preparing that in the factories? Prabhupada said, more important is to whatever you can, you prepare yourself and then offer it. It doesn't matter what it is. Because normally in the South India, they'll offer only certain foodstuffs, not everything like pizza, pasta like we do. But Prabhupada said anything can be offered to Krishna. However, one has to do on their own. Even bread or biscuits, one should not take it from the market and offer. Prabhupada said it's unclean to offer to the deities if you actually are buying it from outside. And Prabhupada's standard of cleanliness is way too high. This example would actually talk about it. One time in Mayapur, Harikesh Maharaj, Hansadut Maharaj, and then Harishori Prabhu were sitting and discussing and eating. And apparently, Srila Prabhupada, after this evening stroll, he came to the door. And these devotees, especially Harishori Prabhu, was eating with a spoon. His hands were not dirty. He was eating with a spoon. When Prabhupada came, they saw and then they all paid obeisances. And Harishori Prabhu put his hands under his knees and paid obeisances. Prabhupada stopped right there and said, this is nature behavior. You are eating from the bowl with a spoon. Your whole body is contaminated now. Then you'll have to go and take a bath. He was very, very, what do you call it? He said he was actually imitating like a child who would eat something and then apply here and there like that. Uh, he was telling Harishwar Prabhu that this is not clean at all. If you're eating it with the spoon, your whole body is unclean. If you're eating with the hand, so Prabhupada gave these kind of things, which, I mean, many of us don't even know these things. So he said the level of cleanliness that Prabhupada demanded was way too high. And Prabhupada would say, you all are brought up like milechas, so I can't do anything. And he would say, go away, and they would feel bad. And later on, Prabhupada said, it's okay, chant Hare Krishna for now. Eventually, when you are trained, you'll actually be a Brahmana. Another time, this was an important, I mean, Prabhupada actually used to have his own paraphernalia whenever he used to travel. He had one goblet which has water, and whenever Prabhupada wanted water, he would take from there. He would not touch it to his lips. He would just drink it like that, and it was very difficult for anybody to imitate the way he did. There was actually a little bit of, you have to practice it, otherwise you won't get it so easily. And he would do that. And Harishwari Prabhu, unknowingly, he was aware, but he touched his finger into the water. He put it inside the jar, and then he gave it to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, Unecha, you people will not change at all. I can't take this kind of water. Give me a different water. So Prabhupada used to quote Pravritincha, Nivritincha, Janana, Vidur, Asuraha. You have simple mlechas. And said you need to take 3 times bath if you want to serve me as a personal servant. And these devotees used to say, especially Prabhu used to say, sorry, Prabhupada, I'm still trying to learn the Brahminical cleanliness. It doesn't come naturally for me what to do, because previously when I was in England, I used to actually take bath once in a week. So no one actually takes more than that. It is very difficult for someone to think that he has to take a bath every day when you're expecting us to take a bath 3 times a day. And Prabhupada used to laugh and then go away. So it was more or less like this, that Prabhupada's standard of cleanliness was unknown to many, even South Indian Brahmanas who are normally clean. Prabhupada would expect that if you are serving me, you need to be very clean. And if you hear all these things, then you know how do we practice it. And these days when they say you need to do this, you need to do that, especially taking a bath after passing stool, people say, wow, is that actually an expectation? But it was common in Vedic culture, but unfortunately we are not aware of that, because society has changed a lot. Like that, there are lots of what you call cleanliness pastimes that Prabhupada would touch upon. But Prabhupada would actually, depending on the devotee, would actually say it like more laughingly, saying that nature behavior and go away, and they would feel bad, and they would not feel hurt. They would just feel bad, and then eventually they would actually pick it up and then go and tell Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said thank you. So that's how Prabhupada trained them on a personal basis. And being a pure devotee of the Lord, he demonstrated all the 25 qualities of a pure devotee so wonderfully that, and one of those qualities is actually being very humorous. He was very funny. Anywhere he used to go, although he was the old Acharya, he had this very childish behavior, childish like demeanor, that he would actually attract some people, especially those who are very scared with Prabhupada. He would actually cut a joke and made it so easy that they can actually approach him easily. One time this happened. Prabhupada was in Mexico, and then in La Cienega, he was what do you call, gave a class, and after the class he went and sat in the veranda, and Prabhupada asked the devotees, how come there are no mosquitoes here? And the temple president came and told Prabhupada that Prabhupada, there are a lot of mosquitoes. You actually are a pure devotee and a very sweet devotee, so the mosquitoes can identify you, and so they don't bite you, but they bite all the devotees. And Prabhupada said, what? They have this etiquette here? In Calcutta, they don't make any distinction. They bite left, right, and center anybody. So like that, you used to make it so simple that when you are there and you hear this kind of thing, especially from Prabhupada disciples, it is so funny that Prabhupada said like mosquitoes have etiquette in Mexico, but doesn't distinguish anything like that in Calcutta, right? And another time, Prabhupada was explaining in the morning walk how the Mayavadis talk about Ras Leela. They don't understand Ras Leela because they don't have the personal worship concept. So some Western fellow actually asked one of the Mayavadis that what is Ras Leela really mean, and they couldn't answer, but instead they gave an explanation like this. Um, there's a statement in Bengali, I don't remember that, but it's like this. If you want to know how jackfruit tastes, because jackfruit is not available across the world, um, how does it taste? And Prabhupada gave a very funny explanation to that. Prabhupada said, that person said, if you dip a Muslim's beard in sugarcane juice and then drink it, however it tastes, that's the taste of jackfruit. And that's all Ras Leela is all about. So Prabhupada was telling these kind of very funny things. To imagine itself is so difficult, but that's all they will say, that Ras Leela is impossible to explain and things like that. And Prabhupada invariably, when he's in a good mood, you would actually use this Gopal Bhan, who is actually a court jester in the kingdom of Raja Krishna Chandra, who happened to live in the Krishna Nagar, Mayapur area way back. So he used to actually give a very funny kind of jokes. One time Prabhupada was actually quoting this. Prabhupada had this in his mind and he was laughing after the class. And devotees asked, why are you laughing? He said, I'll tell you, it's a long story, but I'll tell you. So Prabhupada actually started explaining this episode. This court jester, the kings used to have court jesters basically because kings has to be serious. And they also human beings, they need to have fun with somebody, because if you have fun with some ordinary person, they will take the king lightly. So they should appoint a court jester, and the court jester can make any fun. No one else can actually make fun in front of the king. So this Raja used to actually cut jokes on Gopal Bhan. Gopal Bhan used to behave like that, and that's how they are paid and then taken care. So this Raja Krishna Chandra had called one of the ministers and told, listen, this Gopal Bhan has actually constructed a new house. I want you to go and pass stool in his house before the Griha Pravesham is done. The inauguration is done. You should, because normally before the inauguration, if you do that, you cannot offer to the Lord. You should go and do it, and if you do that, I'll give you a reward. So this fellow said, oh, okay, very nice. So he knew that Gopal Bhan would be there in the house, the new house, checking out things in the morning. So he ran there, and he went there and and told Gopal that I'm in a very urgent mode. I need to pass stool, and I can't actually spare it. Please, please, please allow me to go. And Gopal said, okay, you can go. Go and go and pass stool. But he took a stick and came behind him. Said, you can go, but I'll stay with the stick. So this fellow was so scared, like, why are you bringing a stick with me? He said, you said you actually have urgency for stool. You can pass stool, but you cannot pass urine. If you pass urine, I'll break your head. So Prabhupada was laughing like anything. It was a very simple joke, but Prabhupada said this, and then when he said this, the whole body was like, the devotee said he was laughing so much that all of them were laughing because Prabhupada was laughing. They couldn't understand what it really means. It's very difficult to pass stool without passing urine. And this Gopal said, you can pass stool, but not urine. And Prabhupada got a, what you call, Krishna conscious purport to this. He said, Krishna's understanding or Krishna's treating me is like this. He said, you have hundreds of centers. I will give you hundreds of centers, but you cannot live in anywhere. You have to keep moving. So it's very difficult for Prabhupada to let go of any center and go, because it's so wonderful. Even for us, if we go to Vrindavan or Mayapur and stay there for a week, you know how much we get attached to that place, and then we don't want to leave such wonderful atmosphere. Prabhupada had to leave and go on, and that was Krishna's order. Prabhupada used to say that plan is that I should not get attached to any of this one single temple, and Prabhupada brought Krishna conscious purport. So everything that he saw, and that's how he used to train devotees to see the world from the eyes of the Shastras, not just read the books or just what you call the chant Hare Krishna. No, Prabhupada expected the leaders to be. Prabhupada used to use this word, not a jack of everything. Prabhupada said, you should know something of everything and everything of something. That means you should be an expert in few things, but you should at least know everything little bit. That was his expectation of being a leader. Um, Very interesting kind of thing. And Prabhupada was the one who actually used this just do it. Even before Nike came up, the devotees say that Prabhupada uses just do it long back, even in the 60s, whenever he started, and devotees say, Prabhupada, can we actually do this? Prabhupada said, yes, just do it. So very interesting that Prabhupada brought up all these things, and then from an information perspective, Prabhupada used to give a hell of information that it's very difficult for us to know how did he come to know about all these things. This one thing which really impressed me was about this phrase "good morning." Prabhupada said to the devotees in England that they themselves are not fully aware of it. Prabhupada said in the olden days, even now it is the same, the British skies, that is, the sky in England is always very cloudy. The reason they say basically because the Britishers came and destroyed the Konark temple. That is why sun doesn't rise there at all. So it's always cold and it's very damp. And Prabhupada used to call one of the press reporting. Prabhupada said that they asked him what is the description of hell. Prabhupada said London is hell. That person was completely, he couldn't ask anything more. London is hell. He said yes, this is how it is. It's damp, it's dark, and it's very cloudy, and there's no sun, and it's like no one wants to do anything. It's so lazy, kind of laid back atmosphere. And Prabhupada said on a day where they actually have sun, it's a clear sky, the people would actually greet them, oh, it's a good morning today. It's very nice, what do you call, you can see the sun. So that's how the good morning came into existence, what Prabhupada says. But unfortunately today, for everything we say good morning, right? So Prabhupada said this was not the case way back. And Prabhupada said when the British came to India, they said everything is honey and milk in Britain. Britain is awesome and things like that. And Prabhupada's way, when they said Thames is a huge river and things like that. It's amazing, and then everything in London is awesome. So when I visited London first, the Thames is a canal. Prabhupada actually made it such a, what we call, in such a derogatory way. It's just a canal. It's nothing more than a canal. They call it as a big river and things like that. That's how actually Prabhupada's way of approach of the general things also was so wonderful. If you hear that, you'll always remember that these are the things that Prabhupada actually tried to convey to the disciples. And Prabhupada used to even quote a lot of these stories from his own spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. Prabhupada used to say that the three modes of nature is so powerful that unless until you are protected by the Lord, you cannot overcome that. Prabhupada used to quote this story about a preparation called nakil. I don't know what they call. Actually, at least in the book it is mentioned as nakil. Nakil really means a kind of a preparation which is actually there in Burma. Siddhanta Thakur once actually went to Burma to open a center, open a temple. And during the opening ceremony, his divinity actually cooked puris in ghee, right? And that's how Prabhupada said the standard is ghee has to be taken inside. And Prabhupada's standard was the sandalwood oil for the head and mustard oil for the body, because it creates a lot of heat. So that's a massaging technique. You would never accept any other oil for cooking. Ghee only, nothing else. And this Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur cooked ghee puris, and when he cooked these puris, it creates a kind of like a fragrance kind of the ghee. So all the people in that area were actually saying, "Oh, what a nasty smell! We can't take it." And Prabhupada used to say, in the same place, you'll be surprised. I don't know whether it's still followed. In everyone's house outside, they will actually have a big container, and in that container, whatever they get, any dead animal like a mongoose or a rat or a lizard, they'll put it in that. And for 2 or 3 years, they'll not open it. They'll keep putting it, and then it will get filled. And these things will actually, I'm sorry to say this in the morning, it will actually decay, and then it leaves a, what do you call, kind of liquid. And that liquid is strained. On festival days, they'll add little bit of that in the food that they eat. I don't know how obnoxious that should be, and they like that smell, that fragrance they like. I don't want to call it as fragrance, but that smell, how obnoxious smell they like. So Siddhartha Thakur used to say, this is the power of the nature. Unless until you are guided properly, you see it's tamasic smell, and they like it. And this mode of goodness, which is ghee, they say they can't actually stand that smell. So Siddhartha Thakur used to say that unless until one is properly guided and in the mode of goodness, one cannot appreciate the values of the different modes. So that's very what do you call it, interesting episode. It goes on like that. I'll see whatever I can cover. Prabhupada demanded a heavy loyalty. He could not compromise, and many times Prabhupada said, even if you don't like me, you don't find fault with my spiritual master or the parampara. Because many times what happens is Prabhupada used to find his own disciples talking to other gurus or other spiritual leaders and come up with some various understanding. And they would come and say, people had this kind of mentality that Srila Prabhupada, before he took sannyas, was an ordinary grasta. But by Bhakti-Siddhanta Thakur's mercy, he became very powerful as a world leader. So they would say he was ordinary grasta and became a sannyas later. But our spiritual master has been sannyas, had taken sannyas in early age, and all through he was actually an Aishika Brahmachari. So he's more powerful and things like that. They would come and then find fault with Prabhupada himself, Prabhupada's own disciples. Prabhupada did not really, sometimes he used to become angry, but he did not bother. He used to correct them and then tolerate that. But if somebody found faults with his own spiritual master, Bhakti-Siddhanta Thakur, Prabhupada would reject them, saying that don't associate with them. He's become a poisonous snake and things like that. So he would ask them to leave ISKCON, and he would warn everyone else, please don't associate with such a person. Because Prabhupada could not tolerate that his spiritual master is faulty in any sense. So that was kind of loyalty that he expected. One of the disciples went to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, I love to read Bhaktivinoda Thakur's. He is the favorite writer for me because his books are so wonderful. And Prabhupada corrected him, saying that he is your second favorite writer. One cannot jump the Guru, he said. So one should actually understand Guru's writings are the best for the disciple always, and one should actually appreciate that and not transgress that etiquette, right? And whenever a disciple used to come and say, it's so difficult for me to work with the other devotee who's a god brother, I find it very difficult to actually work with them, Prabhupada would just simply respond back saying that is your austerity. Determination to continue working with your troublesome god brother is another kind of expression of loyalty to me. Prabhupada would say that and say that we are all trying to serve, and there may be some difficulty. And Prabhupada gave an example once, saying that it's like in a hospital. In hospital, everyone comes with different diseases, and a person who has one disease may have some difficulty. A person who has another disease may have another difficulty. But when they are both together, they cannot actually stand each other because both of them actually are diseased. So unless one becomes completely free from all diseases, it's very difficult to stay together. Prabhupada quoted this saying that, but you have to tolerate because ISKCON is like a hospital. We are trying to correct people, we are trying to train people and bring them to a proper standard so that they can be qualified to be offered to Krishna. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm picking up all things which are rotten, gone. I'm picking up and making them good enough to be offered to the Lord. So that's the kind of expressions he used to give. And even in the early days when Prabhupada was very sick, one time Mukund Maharaj actually went and asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, you are here now, we are actually hearing everything, but what if you actually leave and we don't have any shelter? And Prabhupada just closed his eyes and then cried when he heard this, when you leave. Prabhupada said, my spiritual master is a Vaikuntha man, and he actually protected me, he saved me. He said, don't even think that your spiritual master will leave you. You will always be there. If not in the Vapu form, you will be there in the Vani form. So one has to actually not compromise the principle, saying that I'll have to go and take shelter elsewhere. Is there a question here? Okay, thank you. No problem, thanks. So Prabhupada cried, saying that don't even think that I'm living or expect to go and take shelter of anybody else. It's not required. So that was kind of loyalty that Prabhupada demanded from his disciples, and of course his followers too. He didn't want to compromise, saying that I have to go outside. And Prabhupada said, I've given you this ISKCON, which can actually, he's written that in many purports too, that ISKCON was actually started so that we get a good association. And Prabhupada personally many times indicated to the GBC leaders, saying that he will protect ISKCON. He will protect the devotees as long as they're in the same roof. There will always be fight. Prabhupada said, brothers will always fight, but do something worthwhile for the spiritual master. Do something for the father. And Prabhupada quoted this story, which is a very, very old Jataka tales story, wherein there was a group of disciples, and then what do you call it, Guru was there, and the disciples used to fight, saying that whatever I am doing is best for spiritual master. He understands me, I understand him better. You have no clue about how to serve your spiritual master and things like that. And when they were actually asked to massage his leg, and they were actually massaging their part of the leg, and they said the other leg is actually not good. So they brought a stone and put it on the other leg, and the other party actually did the same thing on this leg. But who is suffering? The spiritual master is actually suffering. The devotees are thinking my part of spiritual master is the best. I understand my spiritual master better than anybody else, right? So Prabhupada said, don't do that, because then end of the day, the spiritual master is the one who's going through this difficulty, and not the disciples, right? So Prabhupada gave these kind of very, very instructive stories for us to understand that cooperation is the key. And Prabhupada, even in his final days in 1977 in Vrindavan, said the same thing. When the devotees actually wanted to know what should be the next, because Prabhupada was in such a mood that he could leave anytime. If you go to Vrindavan, you can see those places. It's a must see in our life. Once at least to go and see how Prabhupada actually stayed there. It's such a serene atmosphere that if you go just there and come, you will feel very energized. And Prabhupada, they asked this question, Prabhupada asked them, like, do you want anything from me? And they said, Prabhupada, you are given everything in the books. So we'll actually take guidance from there. Prabhupada said, yes, but it requires intelligence and cooperation. So it's very, very important that all the followers of Prabhupada cooperate with each other and not find fault, because everyone is understanding Prabhupada from their perspective, and Prabhupada is guiding them. So we may not know, we may only see our portion of the leg of Srila Prabhupada to massage, but somebody else will actually have their own leg to massage Srila Prabhupada. So we should be careful that we don't find fault with the other party, saying that that leg is actually not mine, so it's not taken care. I'm taking care of the leg nicely and things like that. So very, very instructive. Prabhupada, especially in his last days, was giving me a lot of information in the short while. Everything will be just one or two phrases, but that actually made a lot of sense for the devotees, because these were very crystal clear, uncompromising information that he kept giving. Because he kept saying that book printing and distribution of books should continue. It's very, very important that we continue that. Because Prabhupada said, in the future, because the 10,000 years is going to be the golden period, in the future, there will be people, the whole world will realize that Krishna consciousness is bona fide. This is actually the right thing to do. So there'll be so many unscrupulous people who will also write commentaries on Bhagavatam and start distributing books, because that will become the demand of the world. And that point in time, if we have already dropped all these bombs, that is Srila Prabhupada's books, you can easily make out the difference between what is fake and what is reality. That is why Prabhupada kept on saying that please distribute as many books as you want. Some devotees went and told Prabhupada, nobody is reading these books. Prabhupada said, immaterial, distribute the books. This is an order from my side. Whether they read or not, doesn't matter. Someday Krishna will make them read. But even otherwise, when a time will come when the whole world thinks that Krishna consciousness is the way of life, 100% there'll be more people who will start writing some books, which will appear like spiritual books, which will definitely be fake, because Srila Prabhupada's books is actually our law books. So that is one of the instructions that Prabhupada gave the devotees, saying that please distribute books as much as possible. And and it goes on like that, especially the final days pastime was like that. Prabhupada used to ask, and then the final days was only that if Prabhupada, if somebody used to come and say, I have come, and things like that, Prabhupada said, you'll be silent. But if they talk about, we have actually distributed so many books, and new books have come in German, this many books have come. One time Harikesh Maharaj brought 16 books. In those days, 16 new books was very difficult to get, because once in a year you get 1 or 2 books out printed, new books. So 16 books translated in some of the European languages. And when Maharaj actually opened up and showed to Prabhupada, this is one of the these pictures used to show, and then say this is in Russian, this is in what you call German, and things like that. Prabhupada was, his eyes was actually, the tears was actually flowing down, and Prabhupada told everyone else, he was actually sitting here and doing some typist work for me, and he didn't want to leave Vrindavan. I told him to get out, and he told Harikesh Maharaj, do you understand why I sent you out of India at that point in time? Because I knew that you are capable of so many things. Thank you so much for doing it. Not only me, my spiritual master, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, all the other spiritual master will be very happy with you. And imagine Prabhupada telling this, and they cried like anything. And looking at that expression of love between Prabhupada and his disciple, everyone else cried. These were on the final days, the 1977. I think between the 11th and 14th of November, 14th was the day that Srila Prabhupada left the planet. Very painful period that is for the disciples, because they couldn't really understand what was Prabhupada's mood. Because Prabhupada used to suddenly ask the devotees, um, I think I should leave, and they should cry. And he used to ask, why are you crying? What do you want? We want you to stay. Then if I have to stay, then get me food, I need to eat. And Prabhupada would get up and eat some food. And again he would fall sick. And again he would say, lie down. And then devotees did not know what to do. And devotees used to ask Prabhupada, Prabhupada, we want you to stay. Then they say, okay, is that your desire? Are you praying like that? Please don't pray like that, because Krishna wants me back. And like that, this conversation used to go with each other. It was so difficult for normal people to understand. But Prabhupada did convey, and he gave how that we all have to live one day, and how we should be mentally prepared for that. And Prabhupada showed that in the final days. And sometimes it used to be very, very funny. And because some devotees, especially from New Vrindavan, he liked that New Vrindavan so much. So, and devotees used to come and get in some one, I think Kisan Maharaj brought him a golden ring and gave it to Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, very nice, now you have to find a bride for me. And that point in time, it is like, it's a serious situation, and Prabhupada actually cuts jokes. And he was so detached. And Prabhupada said, my name is Abhay Charanarinda, so I'm fearless of death. I don't have any fear of leaving the planet, but if you all want me to stay, I'll stay. And then he used to do that. He used to behave in a way that it's very endearing to the devotees. We hear it from especially Hadishwari Prabhu or some of these devotees who had been with Prabhupada. It's so heartrending that if you just hear it, you'll feel like crying, that Prabhupada did all these things for us. He taught us all these things, because these are not taught anywhere else. Because most of the people we die in either the hospital suffering or anything. That no one actually teaches us how should we actually be leaving the planet, what should be our mentality, and what should we be thinking about. And Prabhupada gave that. And even at the time of leaving, he was always focused on preaching. He kept telling Tamal Krishna Maharaj many times, preaching first, samadhi later. He would never accept. And he said, I will travel anywhere, and better to leave the planet preaching rather than staying like this. Right? And Prabhupada said that the Brihad Mridanga is such that my spiritual master is pushing me, and I am pushing all of you. So don't stop, keep going and think big as much as possible, and then do something worthwhile. And he always challenged the American devotees, saying that if Indians can do small things, what is the point that you also doing? Think big, do something that the Indians cannot do. So he used to challenge devotees like that. Anyway, so I'm conscious of time. I will say the Russian pastime as early as possible. I don't know how much time it might take, but yeah, Prabhupada was there twice in Russia. Only once he was able to actually meet the devotees, and I think the devotee's name is Ananta, as when the Prabhu mentioned, or I think the Prabhu mentioned that. So this boy Shyam Sundar Prabhu was there with Prabhupada at that point in time. Shyam Sundar Prabhu, now the astrologer devotee, but Prabhupada's servant Shyam Sundar Prabhu, he went there, and somehow they wanted to go and meet the professors in the Russian university. First time they could not, but second time they did meet. So on the way in the market, he was trying to get some food. All they got was all the time bread. And Prabhupada said, "Is this what they all eat here all the time? There's no vegetables here." And Prabhupada was looking for it. And somehow they found this boy. And the boy was very curious. He wanted to actually meet Srila Prabhupada, and they brought him. And Prabhupada actually spoke to him as with the translation. And this devotee was one who translated English into Russian and distributed handwritten. That's how this whole thing grew up. And Prabhupada said, Russia is actually like a very potent place to make devotees, because the communist countries are suppressing them, and they are not actually able to express them freely. But a day will come, they'll actually have more devotees than any other part of the world. And when Shyam Sundar Prabhu asked how it is, Prabhupada said it's like boiling rice in a vessel. If you just touch one grain of rice, if it's boiled, everything else will be boiled. So that is the mentality, and Prabhupada predicted it, and it really happened. There are some more details in this. There's a book called Prabhupada in Russia, and that episode actually has some more details around how did they avoid all the agents, the Russian agents, because the Russian agents were always looking for these kind of religious people, and they didn't want any religious things to come inside. And Prabhupada later on sent Harikesh Maharaj to that place, those places. It's called the Iron Curtain, and they did a lot of things how to make them devotees. Prabhupada even told Harikesh Maharaj, "I know that you will not find anything to eat." And Harikesh Maharaj was saying, "Yes, how will I follow the Four Agreement Principle? They have only meat here." Prabhupada was so straightforward, Harikesh Maharaj. He told him, "Go eat meat and preach. It's okay. I'm giving you the order. Go eat meat and then preach." He said, how he was not willing to go. So how will I maintain my consciousness if I break the regulated principles? Prabhupada said, "It's my order. You can hell with your regulated principles. Go and preach." That was his tone, and then you can see how many devotees have become, how many people are becoming devotees there in Russia. These are like very difficult for us to understand, because Prabhupada's mood was very different, and he knew how devotees will actually be formed in the future. And in Russia, again, the second time when Shyam Sundar Prabhu said, "I met a man in the this departmental store, and he wants to actually meet you, Prabhupada. He's given me a time that can we actually go and meet him. He's very interested." Prabhupada said, "No, he's actually an agent. We should actually avoid meeting such people, because they don't want us to come and preach here." So Prabhupada was able to see that, but Shyam Sundar Prabhu was not able to see. And many things like this. There is another nice pastime which actually took place in Los Angeles. That's Rameshwar Maharaj and many other devotees wanted to collect money for Prabhupada. What they did was they actually had this lottery system. They would say, all of you should pay about $100 or $50 or whatever it is. So with that, all the money, we will actually buy a limousine or something for Prabhupada. So Prabhupada would use that when he stays here. And after that, we will actually do a raffle, basically a lottery. And whoever gets that, we will actually give it to that person. That's prasadam, Prabhupada's car prasadam. And and when this was happening, and devotees were in two minds, they were happy that they're going to get this. But Prabhupada, when he came and heard this, he said, this is not correct. This is gambling. Prabhupada could see that others, even senior devotees, could not really see that. So Prabhupada said, don't do these kind of things, because it's completely gambling and it's not actually pleasing to Guru and Gauranga. One should actually be careful. So we are almost on time. I'll tell one or two more pastimes, and then we'll see what to do. Prabhupada was very angry in the later days, especially in the last days, when devotees used to come and say, you are not given all the information that's required to go back to Godhead. So I'm going to actually hear from another person in Radhakund, and then I want to actually write translation to the Sat Sandarbhas. And Prabhupada was very angry with that person. He called him a rascal, and he said he cannot actually catch an ordinary snake, and he wants to catch a cobra. He has no clue about it. he is after women, but then he wants to translate Satsandarbha. Because Prabhupada did not give Satsandarbha, some devotees were actually telling that Satsandarbha has a lot of information that Prabhupada has not given. So I will teach you all these things. Prabhupada was very, very angry about that. and he used to become angry, and next moment he used to become normal. So we can understand it's very transcendental that he didn't have grudge. He was not having that kind of a grudge against anybody. He was just very concerned that how will these people become purified and go back to Godhead. That was his main headache. He was always telling, do not fight, compete, and go on perpetually distributing books and spread the Krishna consciousness. Fight will always be there. So he was very clear about it. Shankundu, do we have more time? I can take about 5 minutes.
Yeah, sure, Prabhu. Please go.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, so the final day pastimes, you can actually read it. I mean, it's there. I think they will post it because of the disappearance. They will actually have this 5 days, what really happened and things like that. Because Prabhupada was there in that room, and everyone had to come and take turns. Some people used to, especially the GBC's members, wanted to spend more time with them to hear the last instructions. And they were massaging Prabhupada's body. Some of them actually massaging his chest because he was finding it difficult to lie down, sit down. So it was not easy. And 24 hours there was bhajan going on. And mostly Prabhupada, even at that point in time, used to correct and then used to tell devotees, stand softly, don't sing very loudly because it breaks my heart. Softly chant, and devotees used to come and say, they used to get even the speaker and things like that and chant. And Prabhupada said he thinks his voice will be very nice if he actually sings on the mic. His voice is like Rakshasa, I can't hear this. Let him. People should chant softly so that I can hear and then appreciate that. So Prabhupada expected that. Don't sing like a pandal program or anything like that. So it's very funny that Prabhupada did that. And Prabhupada used to lie down in the bed, and then devotees used to come and cry all the time. And Prabhupada kept on saying, oh, my child, you will come back. And was so affectionate like a father. And he used to be strict enough, but he still said, please come. And then he used to massage their head. And just like how Krishna used to go in front of Nanda Baba, Nanda Maharaj used to smell his head and pat him. Similarly, here Prabhupada used to do that with his disciples, and then the disciples used to actually, they felt their life is all about that room. They used to stay there, and the monkeys also used to come in trouble many a times. Monkeys used to come and then try to see Prabhupada or create some mischievous activities. And Prabhupada said, get a dummy monkey and a shotgun, and then hang the monkey upside down outside and show it to the monkeys the shotgun and say, this is what will be your situation if you come here. So Prabhupada said, please don't actually hit them or do anything because they are all friends of Krishna. You would never actually harm them, but you would actually either take a stick and then make an action, and then the monkeys used to run away. But one time this happened in Vrindavan, that he was in the Radha Damodar temple, and suddenly actually in his room, monkeys came. And the devotees, especially Vishaka Mataji, who was taking prasadam for Prabhupada, the monkeys used to attack everyone. And she was so undisturbed, and she used to take the prasadam to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada actually, when she entered, Prabhupada had a couple of monkeys inside the room. And Prabhupada actually spoke to monkeys in monkeys' language, and she was shocked. She asked Prabhupada, the monkeys were also shocked, and they went. Prabhupada, Vishaka Mataji asked Prabhupada, what did you do? And he said, these monkeys are coming and troubling me all the time. I'm not able to focus on translation. So I told them, as long as I'm here, don't disturb me. I will tell my disciples to actually give you food. So please offer them something to eat. So the monkey said okay and went off. So that was way too difficult for people to accept. And then Vishaka Mataji went and told everyone. And Prabhupada said, how did you know this? Prabhupada said, even Krishna knew it. You can see the parrot Krishna. Krishna used to understand every language. He even quoted in Ramayana, Lord Ram was able to talk to all the monkeys directly, because because the Lord knows everything. Otherwise, how would they actually have a monkey's army and then the commander doesn't know what language to speak? So they had this understanding, and Prabhupada said, even pure devotees, they can do this. They can talk to any animals is required. So that was very touching that I saw this in the Hare Krishna Explosion book. But anyways, so one last pastime before we close it down. Srila Prabhupada is very, very merciful. He's so merciful that he's our grand guru, right? One of Prabhupada's disciples once was asked by Tamal Krishna Maharaj to cook something for Prabhupada in the evening. And this devotee thought, what do I do? And then he said, I'll make upma, because Prabhupada likes upma. Upma is that upit, right? So he took all the suji, whatever has to be done, put a lot of ghee, put some little vegetables, made it very nicely, very tasty. And after that, he took it to Sri Prabhupada, offered to Krishna, and then gave it to Tamal Krishna Maharaj. And Prabhupada took that bowl and kept it aside. And because he was talking to the devotees, he forgot to eat it. And later on, Prabhupada told Tamal Krishna Maharaj, it's okay, I don't need that. So he took it and gave it back to this devotee who cooked. And this devotee who cooked was feeling very, very down, saying like, this is the only service that Prabhupada asked me. Even this I could not do it properly, that Prabhupada did not eat. He felt so down. He went to one of the pictures of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur on the asana, sitting in the asana. So he was crying in front of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, saying that I'm so miserable, so fallen that I can't serve my spiritual master. What's the goal of my life if I actually can't satisfy my spiritual master? And about half an hour later, Tamal Krishna Maharaj came and said, give me that upma, Prabhupada wants to eat it. So this devotee actually quickly heated it up and gave it, and then Prabhupada actually took it and ate off the entire thing. And he told Tamal Krishna Maharaj, call the devotee who cooked this upma. And when the devotee was scared, actually, what maybe the upma had some problem and things like that, Prabhupada said the upma was fantastic. But whenever you have a trouble, you have a problem, you have a complaint, come and tell me directly. Don't go to my spiritual master and tell all these things, because he will chastise me. So likewise, Srila Prabhupada said the grand guru is extremely like a grandfather, is very merciful to the grandchildren. The grand guru also is very merciful to the grand disciples. So we are extremely fortunate to actually have such a wonderful personality as Srila Prabhupada being our grand guru. So we should actually take advantage, and then today we can pray that we can be better disciples who can please our spiritual masters and Prabhupada and the Parampara. That should be our motive, and then request Prabhupada to bless us, continue in our Krishna consciousness nicely. I'll stop here because I'll go on and then it's already 7:30. Sorry for the extension. Shampun Guru, I can take you 1 or 2 questions.
Well, thank you very much, Prabhu. You got the nectar from various sources, and then you relished it in your heart, and then you tasted that nectar and gave it to us. It became all the more sweeter. Thank you so much. I'd like devotees who have any questions to ask to please ask Prabhu. But before the 2 quick things, tomorrow, the content of the lecture for the topic for tomorrow will be Krishna Eating Dirt by His Grace Kartikeya Prabhu, another devotee associated with the SNGM temple and the satellite center called the Bhakti Center in Whitefield. And we also have with us His Grace Varada Krishna Prabhu. Varada Krishna Prabhu, would you like to add anything, or would you want to say something for what Kripamaya Gauranga Prabhu spoke about?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Varada Krishna Prabhu, are you able to hear me? Maybe not. Okay. For those who are on the call, if you have any comments or questions, please do raise your hands and you can ask Kripamaya Gauranga Prabhu.
I think that was.
Yeah, Devahuti Mataji, can you please ask your question?
Why this day is called as a disappearance day? Like, we can also call it as a Samadhi day or something else. Why as disappearance day? Because we again say that Prabhupada ji has not gone. He has now come back again in TOVP, where a big idol has been put down in Mayapur. So why are we calling this as disappearance? Because I think he was God's form, so he will never disappear for us devotees. He's always there for us. Like, so why disappearance day? Why not Samadhi day or something else, like,
Yeah, I mean, yes, appearance and disappearance, because they actually appear and disappear from our vision as such, because we can't physically interact with them. They can see, yes, we find it very difficult to understand what they are thinking, what they are telling us. But again, so Srila Prabhupada's movement ISKCON, Prabhupada wanted everything to be internationalized. And especially the names, the words he chose, it's all for the whole world to actually appreciate, because Samadhi would really mean, it was already there. In Indian culture, Samadhi is a different thing. But Prabhupada did not want those kind of words to be used. So you'll find all these words which are used are very internationalized, that anybody can actually understand. That is the main reason. Prabhupada is definitely there, but we can't interact with him at this point in time. So you want to use it as a Samadhi day, you could use that. But disappearance really means he's actually gone out of our eyesight of physical interactions. That's the main reason. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Shibani Mataji, you have something to say? Shibani Mishra?
Yes, Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhu, I believe there is a Guru Parampara tradition, or I think ISKCON followers follow that. So I think there is number, and I remember when I was attending Gita Sandesh's program, 22 or 23 was something like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as one of the Gurus. So we believe that he came as an incarnation of God, Supreme Lord himself, but he was also one of the Gurus. So if Srila Prabhupada is the last in that tradition as of now in the Kali Yuga thing, and just that number, and or another Guru already is in place, and after that somebody just Shankaracharya thing, we come to know somebody tradition. Could you please throw some light on this Guru Parampara tradition, Prabhu?
Shivani Mataji, I'm sorry, I couldn't get exactly the question. Shankun Prabhu, did you hear exactly what was her question, Prabhu?
Actually, there was a break in the voice of Shibani Mataji. The last 3-4 sentences, Mataji, can you please repeat? Because I think there was some internet problem.
Yeah, you said that the 23rd or 22nd Guru is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and after that, list on what was after that, Mataji? I couldn't get that question.
Okay, Prabhu, I'm repeating now. Is it audible now?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. So basically, I asked, there is a Guru Parampara system which we all learned while learning Gita Sandesh program.
Yeah.
And I remember 22nd or 23rd, which you please tell me exactly what is the number. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was one of those gurus. So my question is that which Srila Prabhupada is in that Guru Parampara system is the last one, like the latest one for all of us, because he was there a few years back, no, like 70 years or something. I mean, sorry, 125 years was his birth, but he passed away a few years back. So I'm assuming, is he the last one, or after that also there is Guru, somebody now which maybe I'm not aware, or has he already given his baton to somebody else to carry on this whole Guru Parampara system? So I just want a little bit, some light if you can throw on this Guru Parampara system.
Okay, I mean, I think this question is more something that you can talk to your spiritual counselor or Bhakti Viksha leader. It'll be easy for you to understand more. But in general, yes, after Prabhupada's disciples are there to actually carry on the baton. Prabhupada did not actually nominate one person as the next Guru. He wanted everyone to be Gurus. He in fact said, Yare Deko Tare Deko Krishna Upadesh that Lord Chaitanya gave. All of us, his expectation is that all of us should become Guru and deliver our dependence and things like that. But as far as carrying the baton is concerned, Prabhupada's disciples actually are there as Gurus right now. They're wonderful devotees. If you hear from your Bhakti Viksha leader, they can actually share some of the Gurus who actually come here, whom you can actually interact with and things like that. There are definitely, and then this Parampara system continues. It's not that it stops at Srila Prabhupada. Yeah. You can actually talk to your whoever actually is giving you a class, or you can talk to them. They can actually talk about it.
Yeah. There's one other question in the chat box, Prabhu. They want a devotee here wants to know what is the difference between an Acharya and a Guru, if any.
Okay, so again, so even in the Guru, there are a lot of categories. Vartama Prakasha Guru, Then you have the Shiksha Guru, you have the Diksha Guru. Diksha Gurus are those who actually take responsibility for delivering the disciple back to Godhead, or at least to the Parampara. Shiksha Gurus are just instructing spiritual masters who can guide people in the right direction, but they will not take the complete responsibility of transforming the person and delivering it back to the Parampara. Now, between an Acharya and a Guru, one should always consider their own spiritual masters as good as Acharya, because it's Acharyavan Purusho Veda. That is, Krishna comes to me in interactive form, that's my Guru. And he can be an Acharya for us. But a Parama Acharya is like Srila Prabhupada, was actually a Guru for everybody. He is actually a preeminent Shiksha Guru for all in ISKCON, for how long ISKCON stays, right? A Guru would mean the very lowest level of someone who can instruct us. Acharya would mean someone who is actually an exemplary person, who cannot make any mistakes, who would never make any mistakes. Such a person is Acharya. But we should always think that our Guru is an Acharya for me. He may not be a Jagad Acharya, that is not a world Acharya, but definitely for me, he is a person who will not make mistakes. Otherwise, you will not be able to continue a spiritual life properly. Yeah, that's the understanding one should have. There are more details to this, maybe beyond the purview of this audience. Talk to your whoever you're in connect with, just talk to them. Otherwise, you message us separately, message me separately, I can explain to you.
And there's one other question, Prabhu. Are the family members of Srila Prabhupada still practicing? Are they practicing devotees? Are they connected to ISKCON? Something they want to know about them.
Yeah, see, again, when you say devotee, ISKCON standards are different. Not everyone will be able to follow that standard. But Prabhupada's descendants definitely actually are there. I don't know whether you all know about Sujitendra Prabhu. Sujitendra Prabhu actually is in Mayapur. He married Prabhupada's daughter. So there are descendants who are there. So there are devotees, but then they may not be actually following the way we are following. But Sujitendra Prabhu and his family still actually follows. They are disciples of Jayapatak Maharaj, and there are a few other devotees which I don't recollect their names. But yeah, again, so they don't follow the way we follow ISKCON. ISKCON is a little more internationalized, but they are devotees in their own sense. They are not inimical to Krishna consciousness and things like that.
I think that's it, Prabhu. From the question side, any closing comments or any final inspiration that you would like to share with all of us? You shared a lot today. Anything else that's coming to you? If you have something great, else we can end the call here.
Yeah, the only thing is today is supposed to be a very meditative mode. One should actually be with Prabhupada, and those who actually have a spiritual master, we can actually pray to Prabhupada to help us become better disciples of our spiritual masters. And those who don't have any spiritual master yet should actually speak to Prabhupada and request him, like, please guide us. How do we actually come back to you? Please help us get a bona fide spiritual master. And that could be our meditative mood. If you're not able to follow regular principles, request Prabhupada to help us, because Prabhupada is very dear to Krishna, and definitely the Parampara will actually help us. That should be I would say that would be the passing thought I want to say, Prabhu.
Prabhu, if you don't mind, one last question from the chat box.
Okay.
A devotee here is asking, how do the different sampradayas differ? Shri and Vaishnava, or like Shri Sampradaya, then there is Shaivite Sampradaya. What are the differences? I know it's a huge topic. If you'd like to just say something in a few sentences.
Okay. Yeah, so there are 4 bona fide sampradayas. Actually, this is not specific to Prabhupada, but generally there are 4 sampradayas, out of which Sri Sampradaya is one, and then our Sri Sampradaya is also a Vaishnava Sampradaya, and ours is the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, which is coming from Lord Chaitanya and Madhavendra Puri. The difference is all about the aspect of serving the Lord. Sri Sampradaya would mean Lakshmi Devi. Lakshmi Devi always sits at the lotus feet of Lord. So their focus is all about serving in a Dasya Bhav. Whereas Lord Chaitanya is more like, he's Krishna in the mode of Srimati Radharani. So there's more like Gopi Bhav. They're serving Krishna and more in a conjugal relationship and things like that. So those are the finer details. Otherwise, from a basic standpoint, all of us actually follow Krishna consciousness. They accept Vishnu as the supreme. We accept Krishna as the supreme. They still are the same, but the mindset is different. So we would actually just say, of course, Shaivites are not actually Vaishnavas. Shaivites are different, but there are bona fide Lord Shiva as the Vaishnava followers, very less in the south, but a few in the north. Their understanding is Lord Shiva again is treated as an Acharya or what do you call a servant of Krishna, Vaishnava Namata Shambhu. So it's more like Lord Shiva is seen as a devotee of Krishna rather than an independent supreme Lord. So such people are there. So they are also Vaishnavas. All are Vaishnavas, but they are not actually worshipping Lord Shiva as the supreme, right? So they all just slight differences are there when it comes to serving. For example, somebody would actually take care of serving Krishna with the food. Somebody would actually massage his lotus feet. Somebody would actually give him a bath and then decorate him nicely. So the mood is all like that. Slight differences are there, but they're all Vaishnavas serving different aspects of Krishna. It's a longer question, as Shamkun Prabhu said. Maybe it needs a class on the different sampradayas, different Vaishnava sampradayas, the 4 sampradayas. What do they do, and how are they actually related? Just as simple things, Sri Vaishnavas are more to do with deity worship, elaborate deity worship, and Vaishnava Seva relationship. These are the 2 aspects that they pick up. Whereas the Gaudiya Vaishnavas are more, they actually have taken all 2 from each sampradaya and they formed their sampradaya by Lord Chaitanya's grace. So it's a longer explanation. I don't think I'll have, I don't want to have all the people in the call to actually hear all these things. May not be very important for everybody.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prabhu, for sparing your time, not just these 1 hour or so, but a lot of preparation that went in prior to this. And it's actually 2 decades of staying with Srila Prabhupada. Your relationship with Prabhupada for more than 2 decades here is coming up in these classes. Thank you for your generosity in sharing that nectar here. And we hope to have you in some other sessions too. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you for hosting me. I'm grateful to all of you. Thank you for bearing with me. Hare Krishna. I will take leave, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.